Yes, fantasy managers, it is game week 13. FPL Addicts podcast is back for the preview. Game week sponsored by Bonus Bank, powered by Esports Live. If you are new around here and just joined us for the first time, good day. We're obviously based in Australia, some of us, and a few of us based in the UK. But make sure you give our podcast a bit of love, a like, a subscribe, and jump in the comments. Make sure you have your say, and if you are joining us on the live feed, we'll try and answer your questions live with some of our celebrity panelists we've got on with us today. It is the Old Boys FC this evening. We are streaming this on a Friday. 9 o'clock Friday night in Australia, in Melbourne, and in the UK, 11 a.m. Just a bit of brunch time for Chris Reed and the Reverend Mikey. Boys, Reedy, how are you, buddy? You good?
Yeah, doing well, mate. Doing well, thanks. Still have to put up with that United top that you're wearing on the podcast today, but it is what it is. But yeah, fancy Premier League has been thick and fast lately, so lots of football to watch, which has been enjoyable. But generally, mate, yeah, doing well, keeping well, thanks.
Yeah, we are blessed to have you twice in 1 week, Reedy. We had a big session on Monday on the podcast, and we are also joined by the Reverend, who was there and present as well. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, we got the Scouse contingent in today. Me and Reedy.
2 Scousers and a Manc. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I know. There's going to be war today on the pod. But yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I'm kind of half sad that Elliot isn't here, half glad that he isn't here to give me a bunch of stick for the old Newcastle result this week after I gave him so much stick. But I'm sure you guys will give me some stick for my beloved Blues this week, man.
Yeah, well, there's always plenty of stick on this podcast. We do love a bit of banter and ripping each other. And speaking of Scousers, one's already left the house this week. Aston Villa have sacked Stevie G. Your beloved Stevie G, Reedy.
Yeah, of course.
He's gone. And it's about time, to be fair. You know, it was a sinking ship, and I don't think even, you know, some of the top managers out there could save Villa. But yeah, it just wasn't the right fit, I don't think. Villa need to sort themselves out, quickly, or they're going to find themselves in that relegation zone because Leicester are picking up the wins at the moment. So Steven Gerrard's been given the boots.
So was it just too early for him, this big job?
I don't think so. I think you've got to take on challenges, and you know, when jobs like this, you know, Aston Villa, big club, I think you've got to take it on, because if you hide away from these things, you know, what's the point in becoming a manager? That's the whole point, in being able to help players, help teams do well, and so on. But unfortunately, Steven Gerrard's just not cut out for Villa. So
yeah, fair enough. And just on that note, over to you, Rev. You can have your say on this one. What FPL assets have been ruined by Stevie G while he's been in charge, and who are you looking forward to see bouncing back?
I'd love to see Ollie Watkins do well again. But at the moment, I am just looking at Aston Villa's fixtures, and I do think whoever comes in to that Aston Villa side to take the helm, so to speak, is going to have a real tough job. Like across their next 6, they play Liverpool, Tottenham, United, Newcastle, Brighton, who we know have been a decent side. Even Brentford at home isn't a given. Like they could lose all 6 of those games, and no one would bat an eyelid, because they've just been in that bad a form. So whoever comes in is really going to need to turn them around. And hopefully Ollie Watkins might get on our radar again at some point.
Yeah, fair enough. And Reedy, over to you. Anyone that you think would be, you'd like to see? I'm sure Coutinho must be a man who you've got your eyes on.
You know what? I'm finding it so difficult to think about any Villa assets moving forward, just because I do think they've got some issues in terms of the quality of players. I do think some of them are championship standard, and I think that there's not enough squad depth there. You look at Douglas Luiz; he's a ticking time bomb at times. You know, he's always capable of getting a red card. You see him in games throwing his head in and so on. Matty Cash and Lucas Digne, who is like the famous FPL troll, obviously. So I just think they're going to really are going to struggle. I mean, Tyrone Mings, I actually like. I think he's a decent centre-back. But as of late, he's looked absolutely shocking. Especially
he's had some howlers, and he heads the ball like you do.
Listen, mate, I don't mind.
50p head.
Yeah. there has been some serious Titus Bramble levels of defending.
Better Wes Brown thrown in there as well, surely.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, they need to sort themselves out, whatever it is. I just don't think at both ends of the pitch it's good enough. I think defensively it's shocking. Midfield three, John McGinn. It doesn't excite you looking at the Villa team sheet, does it? So for me, it's a no-go for Villa assets, unfortunately.
All right, fair enough, mate. Well, I had a look I was on Twitter this week. I saw FPL Focal had posted up all the games up until the World Cup, and they'd sorted his FDR out in order for who's got the easiest fixtures. Obviously, Everton are top there with all the greens on the FDR, but I'm not too hopeful for them. But just on the Aston Villa one, they are ranked.
me neither.
But they are ranked 9th, Aston Villa, in terms of their next fixtures. So I'm not too sure the CEO was looking at the FDR, but I'm sure they were looking at it and taking into consideration with this. But I think the likes of Cash, I think he was disappointing because I had him in the team at the start of the year. He was great in FPL last year for us all, wasn't he? So, and obviously Mings did all right too. And obviously Martinez, obviously a keeper as well. Obviously 3 seasons ago when he burst on, he was the cheapest keeper, and he at 4.5, and he was incredible. It's probably just got a bit gone to his head now, hasn't it? I think he's 5.6 or something these days, something too expensive anyway. But thank you everyone for joining us. People jumping in the comments already. Gary, he's on his wild card this week. We'd love to see your team if you want to post it in the comments, mate, and the boys can have a look through that. Chris, thanks for joining us as well. Good to see you. Colm, he's in here too. He said Alan Kirbishley is out of work.
What a shout that is.
Alan Kirbishley. Blast on the pass.
I thought he was a skeleton these days, Alan Kirbishley. I was like, what?
I thought he might be in old people's home. But who else is in here? Oh, Mike's in, of course. Thanks for joining us again, Mike, our resident Arsenal fan. He's on a high this year, isn't he? He's loving life. And then Will Shaw. No mullet this week. The mullet will be dropping in the studio later on. Even though he is out on the ale at the minute, he has left us a couple of recordings, and the captain's corner will be on. But let's get into a bit more of the review from previous game week. We're going to look at, obviously we've talked about Stevie G already. The next big one we wanted to talk about is Almiron. Miggy from Newcastle. Obviously, El's not on tonight. I'd love for him to be talking about his beloved Newcastle and some of the players that we've been waiting to see fire for the last couple of seasons. Miggy, he was being built up by a lot of people, even by the Premier League on the pod. They were building him up this week, and listen, he delivered and he scored. Rev, do you want to talk us through what your thoughts are on Miggy?
I don't particularly want to, but I will. Yeah, he's one of those players that just always seems to score against teams like us, like Everton. For some reason, if there's a player that is lacking in confidence, that we're not too sure about, or is on the cusp of going on to be all right, if you want a bit of confidence, come on and play against Everton, because we'll just let you have the space to do what he did. And he didn't just take his goal well as well, like he looked good as well, which was so surprising. And obviously FPL Twitter was blowing up this week as well, because Miggy Almiron has overtaken Mohamed Salah in total FPL points for this season.
Wow.
It's a mad stat if you think about it. Like at the beginning of the season, if you told me that it would have been better for me to have Almiron in my team come game week 13, than having the Egyptian king himself.
It would have been better than bloody Neto, though, wouldn't it, at the same price?
Yeah, would have. Yeah. Some of these little sneaky assets. But Newcastle at this moment, they're a really good side. And credit to Eddie Howe and everything he's done. Obviously disappointed they've beaten Everton, but it is what it is.
Yeah, they're obviously looking really strong, Newcastle. They've had a big turnaround. We spoke highly of them on the last podcast and saying how obviously solid they look now under Eddie Howe. They've turned around. They brought in the assets in there as well. And you just think some of them, if they keep, if they do fire, obviously we've talked about Joe Linton taking the mickey out of him for the last 2 seasons, of course. But if he had scored against United where he hit the crossbar in the post, that changes games, and all of a sudden, Newcastle full even more confidence and they can push on. But obviously Tripp's got the clean sheet, and I think he got a bonus on there as well. Reedy, you loving a bit of Newcastle and Miggy or what?
Yeah, I mean, two things. One is we told Chazza to take Miggy out of his wild card, and, and the second thing is Newcastle look great both ends of the field. They've got solid defense, and yeah, Miguel Almiron from Paraguay is fantastic at the moment. Outscoring Mo Salah in FPL. And all it takes is something to go right for you as a player. He's very much so a try hard player, puts in 110% every game. He just doesn't always get the outcome that maybe he deserves. And yeah, he's thriving at the minute under a Newcastle team that are doing really, really well under Eddie Howe. So credit to them. I will say, to give Everton a bit of credit there, Mikey, is that the first 10 minutes of the game, I thought Everton were better. I thought you were better. I think
it's such a shame there's 90 minutes in a game, isn't there?
No, it is, of course. In the first 10 minutes, though, and I think even in the second half, actually, Newcastle looked a bit shaky, and Everton did actually throw the kitchen sink, as they're saying, at them. Yeah. But obviously, Newcastle just defensively just too good. So
so Reedy,
I'm not gonna give you too much, but a little bit of credit there to Everton. Yeah. They did try.
So Reedy, if you do feel like, as you say, that Almiron deserves more recognition, as Mike is saying in the chat, where's your Almiron backdrop? Now, where's your Almiron background, considering he's now got more points?
My head's too big to get. I mean, unless it's like a massive sized Almiron, I don't think I'm going to be able to get him in there.
The disrespect for Miggy on this podcast already has been patent.
It's not been great, and obviously with the Egyptian king was his backdrop last week, when we know it should have been the Burger King instead. Making a return in there, but maybe Miggy should be in yours, mate. And I think I'll look at that one. But
if there is an FPL addict whose team Miggy should be in, it's Chazza, because we left him out of the room last week, and I can only eat humble pie there. I say Chazza, mate, if you're watching, you were right, and I was less right. So,
I was less right.
I was less. That's one way of putting it.
It's one way of putting it. Yeah.
I don't think the Rev has the word wrong in his vocabulary.
Yeah, he's trying not to admit it, is he? But I think we all laughed.
I might need to go. I might need to go into my own confession booth and repent for that one. Oh.
Is Chaz making an appearance in that yet? Is he wanting? Is he?
Yeah, me and Chaz are talking about getting him into the booth. Apparently, he's got a lot on his mind. He needs to just get something off his chest.
Brilliant.
So there we go.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do, we'll just discuss a few more points, and then we'll jump in to look at the teams and see if Chaz did pick the team, or like what team he did pick on his wild card. Because I'm sure a couple of people are interested after we looked at that shocker that he pulled out last week, except the Miggy one, of course. Let's talk. I think Reedy was just mentioning how good Everton were in the first 10 minutes. Let's talk about another team that were good in the first half. Liverpool were looked great in the first half. Liverpool of old in the last game, but the second half they kind of fell apart and a bit of a shambles with against West Ham. But Reedy, did you catch much of the game and the highlights? What are you thinking about the assets?
Yeah, I think we looked really, really good first half. Should have probably been 3-0 up going into half time. The game should have been boxed off, but obviously Núñez looked really sharp. The attempt, I think, straight down the throat of Fabianski, good save, pretty easy save. But the one against the post was the one that was probably deserved to go in. We battered West Ham first half. They couldn't get a sniff. Trent obviously playing more defensively, it looks like. He ended up still getting 2 bonus out of the game and his clean sheet. Second half we did kind of struggle a little bit, and we had to make an early substitution and take off Núñez around the 50th or 60th minute, I think it was, because he had some issues at half time. So is that
because he's too fast? I saw that he set a new record as well, faster than Traore, faster than who's the other fast player?
Well, I don't know. Haaland, maybe?
The previous record was 37.5 kilometers an hour, set by Kyle Walker.
That's the one.
And then Darwin has clocked a 38 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
The man, he is rapid.
He's looking good. He is looking good, and I mean, I think that's it. I mean, sometimes it's easy as football fans or even FPL players. I think more so FPL, because we need the points now, and it's like, how long do we hold the player for? But Nunes has been someone that a lot of FPL managers have been like, oh, he's looking good. He's making the runs. He's looking good for certain aspects. But the main thing is the points. Is he getting the goals? Is he getting assists? And he has been a little bit shy of that. But I think at some point, he's gradually getting there. And he
hasn't been playing too much, though, to be fair, has he? I mean, he hasn't played that many games. Let's be truthful. So,
but I have to give a mention to that Greek left back of ours, Tsimikas, because clean sheet, assist. I mean, coming in
starting as well.
I was wondering when this was coming. Imagine if you had a Liverpool left back in your team this week, eh? Oh,
you just have to talk about having Tsimikas getting an assist, clean sheet, and having Andy Robertson as your captain is possibly a really, really, really dumb decision. I don't know who would do that, but I don't know, Rev.
Yeah, so just for context for all the listeners and the folks in the chat, I made the bold and the brave decision, none of this stupid lark, to bring in Andy Robertson this week, and I also captained him, and he came on for the 10-minute cameo at the end. And I was just gutted because my thoughts is that he was brilliant against City. He was brilliant. He was everything that you've been missing, and I was really, really, and he looked fresh as well. He looked really fresh, and so I was really surprised to see him dropped again to the bench after one, such a great performance, and two, his return from injury. And against Man City, for me, he showed why he was Liverpool's number one left back. There have been some question marks over him and whether Tsimikas can, challenge him for that space. Mike saying that this is me in the confession booth now, and we're not too far off.
It's a quick preview.
Yeah, exactly. And so, for me, Robertson showed why he was Liverpool's number one left back. I was just really surprised.
Did you do that on purpose, or was it a case that you were meant to captain someone else and maybe you've left it on Robertson, or what?
I tried it on. I tried it on Robertson, and I didn't mind it. And then I thought, I might switch it back to Harry Kane later, which, in hindsight, wasn't too much of a difference either way. So, I wasn't massively punished for my Robertson captain because my alternative was Harry Kane, who also blanked. So, you win some, you lose some. Like the thing is, if I pulled it off and he got the assist and the clean sheet and I captained them, the streets would never forget. But but because he got benched,
there's such a fine line between genius and stupid. And
Mikey, and I actually got featured, didn't I, on FPL images that precede unfortunate events. They screenshotted my tweet where I was captain and Robertson, and that tweet got about 300 likes, and I was just like, I just became a meme in the community for a week. It was
love it.
It was devastating.
Glad you're doing your bit to get a bit of content going, mate. I love it.
Yeah,
I wonder who you're going to be captain
publicity.
This week.
All publicity, Jack, is good publicity, and I'm glad I can do my bit to get the word about the pod out there,
Yeah, good on you, mate. But let's move on. We'll have a look at the podcast league. Obviously, there's 6 of us in here. 3 of us on the podcast tonight. We've got the Scousers in, but the Aussie boys, Charlie, Ollie, and Elliot are missing this evening. But we'll start at the bottom with Ollie, who's in Adelaide this evening. Morton, here's a hoot. 44 points for Ollie. He obviously stepped it up last week after hitting his wild card. 44 points he fell on this week after making 2 transfers on his wild card. Did all right with the goalkeeper, trips in there as well, but nothing else to shout about too much. He's obviously got Dallo, which is nice. Left Neko on the bench, and Captain Kane didn't go to plan for Tottenham. Chris Reed, talk us through your team, mate. 49 points. You took a -4 this week. You managed to field a full 11 on the pitch, which was great, but it didn't go to plan exactly in some areas.
Yeah. Just got the 11 out there. I think that's what the main focus for me is, for that game week. And I'm happy. Actually, the thing that I'm happiest about is probably the Trent clean sheet and the bonus. Obviously, he's been really poor this season and under par and so on. So for him to come in and get those points was actually fantastic for me, considering I took the -4. So Castagna, lovely clean sheet. I think that's his 4th in a row for Leicester, and Kieran Trippier just best fullback in the game at the moment, and deservedly so, sort of being number 1 for the England spot for the World Cup as well. So Brighton clean sheet for me. Salah disappointed with the captain pick, and Bowen missed his penalty, which I was actually quite happy about, to be honest with you. I was not bothered.
Fuming when that happened, man, because obviously I've got him in my team as well, and obviously wanting to beat Liverpool for one first and foremost, and then Bowen getting a penalty, buzzing, and then misses. Fuming with it, man.
I was made up. I literally didn't even bat an eyelid. As soon as he missed, Alisson, obviously saved the pen. I was made up. I wasn't even thinking about fantasy points. He was on a -1, I think, come half time or whatever it was. So to finish on 0, it's one of those.
I do wonder if this damages Bowen as an FPL asset, because we do see in teams so often.
Don't be saying that going into Bournemouth.
Yeah,
you're Bournemouth at home next. Come on.
But if a player misses a penalty, normally the person who's next in line to take pens is knocking on the manager's door the day after, saying,
the thing with West Ham, though,
I want to be on pens now.
Yeah, but West Ham have had, I think Declan Rice. They've switched it around a few times and changed it up and stuff, and
which is worrying.
Yeah, but like any team,
because Declan Rice missed the pen, didn't he?
Yeah, but to find a consistent penalty taker in your team isn't as easy as what people think. I mean, Jorginho...
Bring back Mark Noble. That's what I say.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Get him out of retirement just to come on to take
out of his seat,
But so Mitrovic, another solid one, got his goal. Got no bonus, unfortunately, but he's just been great this season, considering all the hate he was getting at the beginning because, people had him in previous season for Newcastle and he did nothing.
Yeah, he's been a lot of people,
Yeah, could have done better, but you know what? It was nice to actually not get bang on the average. I actually got a green arrow this week, so, I can be pleased with that.
Yeah, I think you've done well there, to be fair, really. 49 points, 10 points above the average. Happy days, fella. I think you've done spot on, mate, so well done. Back into the league then. So, really, you're sat 5th in the league out of 6. You are still doing terrible in the comp, but not far behind. Chazza, let's have a look at Chaz. He pulled the wild card last week. We absolutely ruined him live on air. Obviously, it was good fun, good banter. But we did try and help him after the podcast and throw in some tips and where we thought he could improve. But maybe he should have stuck to his guns.
And he shouldn't have listened to us.
But he's had an absolute mare. So I think, listen, he got 55 points, which was, I was having a look in a couple of our mini leagues, and he was still one of the highest. There was many wild cards hit in game week 12. A lot of free hits, actually. But in our public league, where we've got over a couple of thousand players, I think, or 1,000 players, he was one of the highest wild card point haulers. So I'll give him a bit of credit in terms of what he came up with. But he didn't pick Miggy in there. He went with Sanchez, Trips, Gomez, Nico Williams, Totti, not Francesco, Zaha in midfield with Money Mount, Salah, Andreas, Tony, and Mitrovic. So he had a full 11 on there, and on the bench he's got Ward, who got 9 points, as Rev will be talking about shortly. Cancelo, Saka, and Haaland to set him up for him to go into game week 12. So listen, he came up with a good team, to be fair, though. I think it came good in the end, his team, and he got some good points. So it's just obviously, I think we all know he was wild carding probably at the wrong time, based on what it could do for him. But still, he came out with a lot more points than others, and I'm sure he's settled quite nicely going into the following weeks. It was interesting with the Gomez one. I didn't really see that one coming from him, though, to be fair. Elsewhere, Elliot Craig, he scored the most this week. 56 points from the man, Newcastle, from the Toon. He took a -4, but looking good in his team. Trips obviously scoring well for him, with Pope backing him up, Neko on there, and Dunk, who he brought in. 8 points. I think he took James out, didn't he, and brought Dunk in. So every credit there to El, because he got the clean sheets in there. So he's looking good going into game week 13 too. In second place, the lowest achiever of the week. I think he's been this a couple of times now, but he's still sat second in the league, and that is our man, the Rev. Rev, take it away, mate.
Yeah, it's been a bit of an awkward one because obviously Ward is sat there again on my bench with 9 points, which is, after taking Iverson out for a hit a couple of weeks ago, I would have been better off just sticking with Ward by 1 point only. I do still think that moving forward with Kepa is probably the way to go. But you can win some, you lose some, I guess. But obviously, my captain pick, absolute shambles. Just like I feel like I've had a really bad few last weeks, but hopefully the redemption arc is on this week. I'll let people know I've already rage transferred Robertson back out. Sack him off.
It's happened already.
Yeah. He's gone. I've been hurt. I've been a hurt person, and as we know, hurt people, and so I am a hurt person.
Oh my god! Absolutely, absolute head loss already, you mate.
Yeah, I know. My head's gone, but I'm still above, all the rest of the lads in the chat, apart from you, Jack. So I'll take it for now.
Yeah, that's a big point to make. That you're not above me, mate.
Yeah, and that's fine, but hopefully the redemption arc can come along. Sterling as well, he's another one who I had my eye on taking out again, and after
fraud, absolute fraud,
a 30-minute cameo, he's gone from the team. No prizes for guessing who. Mount again hooked at 60 minutes. He's another one that's gone. Yes, it is a second -8 in a row, but I feel like the -8
and the new Hitman in the podcast mini league.
It's true, man. The logic behind it is that I do feel like the -8 will pay its dividends over the next 4 weeks, and I've set myself up to be in a position where I'm not going to need to take hits now, which is fine. But I feel like I'm in a really good position going forward. Obviously, Tony and Kane blanking as well does not help, but it's all about this game week. Am I Ollie in disguise? Am I Ollie in disguise? Is the shout from Mike. Yeah, it's been a bad game week, man, but hopefully it go again this week and the redemption arc starts now. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Boona's been jumping in the chat.
The original FPL troll. Sack Digne off. It's Boona.
Yeah. He's talking about the Team South. We'll have something to say about that potentially come next year. So up the north, and I think Boona's gonna regret these words come then. But yeah, apologies for the Southerners for me and Rev and our strong Scouse accents.
I hope you can understand the Blackpool accent, yeah.
Well, Uncle Mike can understand, so maybe it's just Boona and his hearing problems. He has had a few troubles lately with his FPL, with his handle on Twitter, so we'll let him off.
Yeah, listen, Mike's going to do the captions on the when we post the video, and you can get in the comments, and you can rewatch all this. Boona, you can see Mike doing the Southern translation for you, mate. All right, elsewhere, let's go to top of the league. Let's have a look at this. Jillers Killers, a big 41 points this week. Not very good from myself. However, it has left me still top of the league. I also fell for the Robbo trap. I did bring him in, but I didn't fall for the big trap. I put an armband on him. I wouldn't do that to myself.
No!
I was getting shots fired last week from Reedy about Zaha, who I did pick on the stream for my captain. And once he didn't back it, I thought I'm definitely backing that. So I went in and captained Zaha, which I was delighted with. If Bowen didn't miss that penalty, would have been beautiful, and it would have turned out to be a bit of a better week. I was expecting Crystal Palace to get a draw, a clean sheet as well in there at home, Selhurst Park. Thought it'd been a good one for them, but they did concede. Thought Guaita, following his 11 points the week previous, would have been on. But yeah, buzzing with the captain's pick. Didn't really fancy Kane with that captain's armband against United in the end. Just thought United might be a bit too strong, and it turned out they were, which was buzzing with. Trips was probably the second captain choice for me, if anything. But yeah, I think overall, not a great week. Still above the average. Didn't take any hits, which was okay, which I'm more than happy with. And then we move on to next week. But still top of the league, boys. Happy days. Elsewhere,
well
yeah,
done, mate. Well done. You've been smashing it, man. We gotta take our hat off to you at this point in time, and hopefully we can start giving you some competition at some point.
Yeah, hopefully I can stop carrying. My arm's getting tired now. But elsewhere in our leagues, in our members league, hasn't really changed too much. But top of the public league is Donald. He's sitting there with 750 points. Well done, buddy. He's absolutely killing it. And he's also top of the head-to-head league. There's 16 managers in there. And he's top of there with 29 points, 4 points above anyone else. In the women's, Mira's still top in there as well. She's absolutely killing it still, 734 points. So well done. But a big mention and shout out to the Game Week Manager of the Month in our members league. That goes to Steve McDonald. No, not Steve McDonald of Coronation Street. Steve McDonald from New South Wales in Sydney. FPL Eyes, congratulations to you. You are the manager of the week. So well done for you. You got 61 points, which not a big one, but he was there. He made it happen. He had a good team set up, considering the Arsenal and Man City games not being played and assets missing. He still managed to do well in there. So congratulations to you. Over to Bonus Bank. They've got their fantasy football tool that they provided us this year to share the love with. Looking great in there, to be fair, because it's got the clean sheet probabilities. Like they look at bookies odds, bring all the probabilities together, and look at who is the top ranking team. So for clean sheets this week, third place, Arsenal. Mike, your Arsenal team, 38% chance of a clean sheet versus Southampton. In second place, Liverpool. Scousers, 47% chance versus Nottingham Forest. And in top place, 49%, Manchester City, of course, versus Brighton. So it's a 49% chance of keeping a clean sheet. So if you want to use this tool, guys, you can jump into our link tree, which is in the captions below. There is a link on there to Bonus Bank Fantasy Football tool, and you can have a look and see if these can help guide you and help you, climb your mini leagues, maybe the Rev, and really need to start using this a bit more as well. But there are you can also, in there as well as clean sheets, you can look at probabilities to score. So this guy's still up there all the time, because I think he's going to come off the bench and score. In third place, Alvarez from Manchester City, 45% chance of scoring probability. Mo Salah back up there, 46% in second place. And in top place, of course, the Nordic Meat Shield, Haaland, with 60% chance of scoring. So you can check out the Bonus Bank ones in there, and we'll let you know how else you can get in Bonus Bank just at the end of the podcast as well, who are our sponsor for the second season running. And a big thank you to them. But let's get on to a bit of preview discussion, boys. There's lots of stuff to get through with. It's been a quick turnaround in between, from 11 through to 12 midweek, now into game week 13 this weekend. We appreciate your time and your tips that you're going to provide everybody, or nonsense, we could call it. But this week, let's start with the easiest fixtures on the FDR. So if we get the FDR up here, I'm sure there's a few points that the boys want to discuss. No doubt, Everton have got the easiest run of games coming up. Up to the World Cup, they are they've got the easiest run, as we've already mentioned. But thanks to FPL Focal for doing that and putting all that together. So, Mikey, Everton, Crystal Palace at home, next one. Any assets that we should be looking at all? Dinosaur arms?
I think, dinosaur arms could actually be a shout, because
dinosaur arms.
I might take another -4 to bring in a different goalkeeper. You never know on this podcast, do you? But I think I'm looking at our fixtures, and I'm not seeing many attacking returns, but I am seeing 1, 2, maybe 3 clean sheets out of the next 5. So I do think, if
who are you saying for that? Are you looking Palace clean sheet?
I think we could keep a clean sheet against Fulham. I think we could keep a clean sheet against Bournemouth, possibly Wolves as well.
Yeah, okay.
And so I don't think that's beyond us. I think we're also definitely a lot better at home than we are away. So there's even a chance that we could get one from Palace and Leeds as well, maybe. So if we are looking at FPL assets, of course, Patterson is still injured. He's still out. And I wouldn't invest in Seamus Coleman, because he'll be gone from the team as soon as Patterson is back. Until then, I'd say Tarkowski is possibly a great shout. We know from last season he's no stranger to a cheeky bullet header either. So, if he has one of them within the next 5, as well as some clean sheet points. And he also, like, when we do keep a clean sheet, he does love a bonus point or 2 as well. So Tarkowski's the first shout, and then my second shout would be Mika Legend, the Ukrainian international, or left back, who does like to get up and down the pitch. And so those 2. Jordan Pickford, if you want to risk old dinosaur arms, go for him as well.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Cheers for your Everton analysis in there. On the FDR this week, it is actually showing 11 green games, so which is obviously quite strange because not everyone can win, obviously. So I think elsewhere, I mean, is Aston Villa, obviously with the change of manager, the interim coming in, can the interim, I think it's the first team coach who's coming there against Brentford. They've got a home game. Is that a possibility to have a look at any assets in there, Reedy?
Not at the moment. I think there's too many good assets out there in the big teams, especially with this 13-14 fixtures, and even up until the World Cup, you've got Arsenal, City, Liverpool at the moment as well, and then you throw in the odd Fulham, and then Zaha. People have got Zaha. I just don't think there's any room in there, and it is a risky punt. I don't know until they get a proper manager. I don't know if they'll have that bounce back type of thing at the minute. And Brentford look actually pretty decent, and Ivan Toney's looking really, really good at the moment as well. So I'd be happy staying away from Villa for now.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. I think we were talking in the just before we went live, and we mentioned Leeds had so many shots during their game midweek. They've got Fulham at home. Mikey, should we be looking at any Leeds assets, do you think?
I think you could probably do a little bit better than Leeds, I think. And I know that they've got Fulham and then Bournemouth as well within their next 3. But at the same time, I think, they are going to be playing Liverpool, Spurs and City as well. So I just think that there's just probably a little bit of an avoid. I think if I was going to go to, mention some teams who I think could be worth it, and you'll like this, Jack, is I've definitely got my eye on Anthony, because not this week but the week after, if we look at the Man United fixtures, once they get that Chelsea game out the way, that's free real estate right there. West Ham, Villa, Fulham, Forest, Wolves, then Bournemouth. It's Anthony time. I reckon it's Anthony time. He'll be coming into my team in that run, I guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's players that obviously we're going to be looking ahead just before the World Cup, and there's United assets. After that, obviously a 2-0 win, United now have looked a bit more convincing to me. And you're going, listen, can we now invest? I think we'll get a result against Chelsea as well. I don't think it's obviously often FDR. It's not an easy game, but I think we'll get a result against Chelsea, whether that be a draw. But thereafter, the run of games looks great. Players like Anthony, who looked frightening, he scored 3-3. Obviously, when he first arrived, he looked frightening in terms of some of the movement and the when he's got the ball. I'll use an old phrase we used to use. He's a razzler. He looked so good on the ball. He put, I think it was Højbjerg and Perisic, I think, on the floor. Was it when he did the turn earlier in the game?
Yeah, brilliant.
And he's just stuff like that. He reminds me of like Ronaldo of old. In terms of what he can do with the ball, and he's someone I'd love to see. I felt like Sancho was going to do a lot more when he came with the ball as well, 1v1. But Anthony's doing it. He's so confident. Ten Hag knows how to use him. He knows how to play him. He knows what he's capable of, and his ceiling's massive. And I think he's definitely a player for me I'm going to be looking at. And I think United in general, I think I'm back on the bandwagon of United assets in terms of who I'm going to be looking to bring in. I mean, the likes of Dalot are going to be good because he's attacking. He looks great. United look likely to get clean sheets possibly now as well. I know I'm going early, but I think we've got to get ahead of the game here and say, well, listen, I believe. I know Chris Reed doesn't, but I believe. Mikey believes because he's a secret United fan. And Reed is.
I was a Chelsea fan. I was a Chelsea fan last week, so I don't.
I was about to say, are we forgetting already that Mikey's?
He's moving between each club each week, mate. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, like if Anthony is reminding you of the Ronaldo of old, make it just a penny for your thoughts on the Ronaldo of present.
Yeah,
obviously the big situation, the big news that dropped this week was that before the game ended, Ten Hag planned on bringing on Ronaldo as a substitute, and instead of walking onto the pitch, he walked down the tunnel. I think if there's one thing that Man United need to really safeguard at the moment, it's their dressing room harmony, because we know it's been a toxic place in the past, and something like that, could see the wheels come off very quickly.
Yeah, and I think like the thing is with Ten Hag is no nonsense as well. He's already made that clear, and I think with dropping Ronaldo first and foremost, he's only played him because Martial hasn't been able to stay fit. Rashford's played up top as well. He started. He didn't do much obviously against Everton in that game either, which United are better without him. On the stats are saying, and as well on paper. Yeah, Listen, Ronaldo, you get the ball to him, he'll score. But the way I think Ten Hag is playing now, I don't think Ronaldo is part of that plan either, is he? So I'd love to see Ronaldo fit in the system. I'd love to see him play and scoring goals like he was last year. He was unbelievable for us in terms of what he did for us last year. But that behaviour on the sideline, if it's all obviously true, like it's come out saying that he didn't want to come on as a sub, and then obviously chose to walk off. He's got to go, unfortunately, and I think it is time, because Ten Hag can't have that under his reign, and United just got himself in a place now where you think this is time for us to push on and get back. We see the likes of some of the bigger clubs dropping points, and it's a great opportunity for United now to get back to where we were. So yeah, exciting times. I'm just going to bring Chris Reed's face up here because I know he's loving the United chat as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just sitting here waiting for it to all go Pete Song again. So I'll let you have your moment. I know you're happy at the minute. It is going right, and
this is the first time I've been happy since 2 years ago.
Yeah, there we go. It's been a long time for you, Jack. So I'll let you have the limelight with United. But I think in terms of FPL, I think Anthony will be a good pick moving forward. I think that Rashford, he offers sort of a lot in terms of that he's a midfielder in FPL. He's cheap. But the problem is he's not clinical enough. He should be putting goals away, at times, easy finishes. So I think Anthony's a great shout. Just think that obviously for 13, 14, maybe not at the moment, but certainly for 15 and 16, you could see him coming in.
You won't play him against West Ham at home.
Probably wouldn't.
Even Liverpool managed to score against West Ham.
Moisey, hey, I'm telling you, Moisey hasn't won. I think against like 19. You heard that crazy stat? Like 19 games away, he hasn't won against. I don't know what it is. It's some crazy stat against big teams.
4 teams, yeah. The reason I would say no is because Arsenal play Forest, Liverpool play Leeds, Newcastle play Villa, City play Leicester, Spurs play Bournemouth. There's your reasons, and that's more than enough for me.
All right, let's move on. Thanks for United, bit of limelight there. Happy days. We've talked about United. We've talked about Everton. Who's put these notes about Palace, Everton, Southampton, West Ham? Is that to do with the fixtures for Everton? Yeah. Honourable mentions, Rev.
Yeah, I think Palace definitely still have some great fixtures going forward. Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Forest, Fulham, Bournemouth. Obviously, Zaha, you were the recipient of some captain points. I don't know what captain points are like. I do need to pay more attention when Chaz is going off in the captain's corner. But you got them Zaha points going from the last game, and going forward, it looks like his points just set to keep on coming in. So if you've got one of them, or even if you're a Gueye owner as well, those Palace assets look great for the next 6.
Eze's killing it in a minute, isn't he?
He looked good. My question over him is it sustainable? Sometimes he has these brilliant games and he gets on everyone's radar all of a sudden because he's one of those players who's just there. He's also really good on the eye test as well. He looks really confident on the ball. He looks like he can absolutely spray it. He looks like he can play a real serious attack and pass as well. So it's one of them where with Eze is if I was ever going to bring him in, I'd like to see it a bit more from him first. But yeah, definitely.
As they ever?
Forward.
As he ever?
As I don't know, maybe when the fixtures get easier. Yeah.
Right, boys.
Oh my
terrible! Try to force one through that.
I'll let myself out.
Hey, listen.
Of course.
Rev. Quentin just jumped in. He wanted to send his condolences to you as well because he had Robbo too. So you are not alone. So
mate.
Got a bit of Michael Jackson in there. You are not alone.
There we go. Keep going.
What would this pod be without one of us doing a random bit of karaoke? Hey.
Eze's great pick, by the way. I do think he's good. If you haven't got Zaha and you fancy, an alternative, Eze,
cheaper as well. He's an easy pick.
Way.
There we go. Got
it in.
Moving on.
All right. Nice. Let's have a look at most transferred in players this week. Phil Foden, 392k managers have brought him in already. As we are live in this pod, that'll probably go up to 450, I imagine, and maybe more. Saka has come in as well, 208k. But he has got a flag over him after the Europa this morning against PSV. But that could just be, just resting. He did play 80 minutes or so in there as well. Haaland has come back in 166k. So, that's probably, I think Reedy was saying it's probably because of the Kane swap over. But the most transferred out players, James, obviously because of his injury. So a lot of managers now pining him off, 267k. Trossard, 250k taken out. Gross, 120k managers taking him out, and Harry Kane, the fourth most transferred out player this game week. As we managed said, I think the reason is because of the Haaland swap over. However, would you not look to keep Kane, or is it that desperate? Would you burn that transfer to bring Haaland in, Mikey?
It's such a strange one, isn't it? Because obviously you prefer to have Haaland over Kane. But at the same time, Harry Kane has only blanked twice in FPL so far.
And surely people have got more fires to put out than to do that transfer, or people taking hits.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, by not having Haaland could just create a fire. We know that he can just go and get back-to-back hat-tricks like it's nothing. So, I think it's one of them. Like, personally, I'll be going with the pair of them. I think having Haaland and Kane is probably the way to go for moving forward in terms of your two premium slots. And so, yeah.
So not a fan of Salah
then? It's strange because you don't know what formation Liverpool are going to play. If Klopp at his next press conference said, I'm going to be playing Darwin and Salah up top in a 4-4-2, Salah would be amazing. He would be amazing. But if he's going to stick him out on the right again, like he did with Firmino and Darwin in the middle, I don't fancy him. Reedy, thoughts? Say something. One of you.
Are you on this podcast, Reedy, or what?
I know, yeah. Am I on my own here? What's going on? You've just been singing to me, Reedy. You've just been singing to me. You are not alone.
Sorry about
and
that.
then you've just absolutely left me hanging.
And then me and Rev were just like, just the two of us.
We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
You talking about Darwin and stuff, weren't you?
Oh, mate, give it a rest. Right, let's just move on, Reedy.
We were talking about whether or not Salah is
anyway.
a FPL asset.
All right. Anyway, elsewhere.
Go and eat your chicken tikka sandwich, bro.
Chicken tikka what?
Absolute nonsense.
You had a chicken tikka 3 weeks ago, and you just scrambled it while you were on the pod. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Yeah. No, Salah's good. Keep him. Yeah, he's good.
Cheers, Reedy. Yo, get back to flipping burgers, you two. Get back to where's the Burger King? Shower's gone. Double Whoppers. Right. Let's have a look at this from EPL Live. Big shout out to them. We've partnered with them this year. They're posting articles. So Chaz is doing his captain's corner on there. The Rev is doing his hot tip. I wonder what his hot tip this week is because he hasn't sent it to me yet. Rev, have you got a hot tip this week, or is it still on its way?
It's
on its way. Good lad. So the hot tip will be posted very, very shortly after the podcast. Thanks to the Rev, but that goes live on EPL Live app as well. So you can find all the content on there. We've been using it for all live scores, stats on there as well. It's showing all the latest with goals coming through, assists. There is the app there. If you haven't seen it already, you can download that from anywhere in the world. It is available on the Apple app. So most in-depth team and player stats alongside the latest breaking news as well. And that's where I got that Gerrard sacked news from. Reedy has just brought up the Almiron Miggy photo in the background. For those who are watching live, you can see that. Happy days. Good work, Reedy. I'll make it nice and big so anyone who's watching it now, just move your massive head, mate, and we'll be able to see him.
I was going to say, my head is literally covering.
There you go.
Covering his
there he is. Miggy's in the background and getting a shout out on the FPL Addicts pod. Yeah, happy days and just for Mike as well. But let's get into the preview. We're going to go straight to Elliot and Chazza, who have dropped us a line with this week's preview.
Yes, boys. Cheers. Hope everyone is enjoying the podcast who is listening along live or anyone watching back on replay. Unfortunately, myself and Chaz can't be there live with the boys tonight, but we're still going to bring you which transfers we have made for our teams and how our teams are lining up for game week 13 now. So, Chaz, I'm going to bring your team up on the screen and take us through your squad for game week 13.
Certainly will. Well, I'm going to be very short and sharp. It's exactly the same as game week 12. We're going to roll at all costs. Despite the little niggle Saka must have suffered during the Europa League, we'll just leave it for now because there is enough cover, especially with Andreas Pereira. He's a fine establishment from West London at the moment. I'm hoping Francesco Totti gets a run out for Wolves eventually. It looks like Stephen Davis, under 21 Youth Academy, out in the park. And Neko's just nowhere to be seen considering his opponents. For now, this armband is going to be on Erling Haaland. I just reckon, even when City do score, he's going to be heavily involved. And I reckon he'll bounce back strong after his only blank so far, which occurred at Anfield 1-0. Heavy consideration on Salah too. It may change heading into the deadline, but I feel Liverpool are going to score goals, but they're going to have a variety of goal scorers and players who are going to deliver fantasy returns as well. I think Firmino's going to be part of it. Next, Darwin Núñez. I still feel Salah will get something, but I just reckon Haaland will score more points this game week. This is my team for what it is. 3-4-3. I like the look of it, and we roll. Thanks for coming.
I think that's a really, really good squad going into game week 13. It is similar to mine in a lot of ways, but just there's no Miguel Almiron in your team for this week, Chaz. So you don't want to use your free transfer on getting him in the team.
See, if there was something that the boys were going to mention after this little pre-record, it was going to be about Jack and Miguel Almiron, and then Rev, and then Chris owing his formal apologies. If there's going to be anyone that's going to join Rev's confessions, I reckon it's going to be the entire podcast team including me, just for owing their apologies for slaughtering down Miggy Almiron, I should say. So that's where we are.
Yeah, well, in my defence, I did say that I like the Newcastle players, so take me away from them and they can all sit in the confessions booth with the Rev. But no, in all seriousness, it's a great team for this week, Chaz, and I think a very, very high ceiling. In terms of my team then, I'm the same as you. I'm rolling over. I don't need to make a transfer this week. I think I'll probably move next week to Foden. Move from Bowen to Foden or Saka.
Bowen, maybe.
Bowen's his new name. I'll move from Bowen to either Saka or Foden. But Pope is going to be in goal for me over Ward. Ward got a clean sheet this week, so that might change. But I'm thinking this is how my team's going to line up. Trippier, Cancelo and Mitchell at the back. And then a very strong midfield of Bowen, Martinelli, Salah and Zaha. And then Tony, Mitrovic and the armband is on Haaland. Similarly to you, I am contemplating potentially captaining Salah this week. It will just be a last-minute decision, so you need to make sure that you're checking out the socials to see what my final locked-in team looks like, but I'm pretty sure this is what it's going to be like. And then I've got plenty of bench cover with Ward, Andreas Pereira, Nico Williams, and Lewis Dunk there as well. So that is going to be my squad for this week. Boys, best of luck with the rest of the podcast. Chaz, do you have any final words for them?
No, I'll just call this week the week I was supposed to pay the wild card. But I don't mind having 2 free transfers with a week to ponder on. I think I'm just keen to see how many hits Rev's going to take. If he's going to take more, I really encourage him to do so because it just shows in our mini league. That's all my parting words. Have a great potty.
Absolutely. You'll be seeing Chaz a little bit later on for the Captain's Corner, but this is the last that you'll hear or see from me from this podcast. So have a good rest of it, boys. And all the viewers that are listening and watching along, thank you very much. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
How good was that from the boys? I love that they're both in Newcastle shirts as well. But the boys just jumping in there, giving their team, obviously, previews as well. Both a bit boring rolling over, but obviously they would have heard our apologies this week as well. We've said sorry in there, or not sorry. But I think Chaz is, I think, on the beers somewhere, but I'm going to put him in and see how this is going. And I'm going to kick him off if it doesn't go down well. So we'll give him a second. Chaz, you're live from a pub somewhere. How are we?
Yes. I'm going good, thank you. Yeah, just in the toilets at the moment, but we're going all right.
What fine establishment are you in, mate?
So we're at Mountain View Hotel along Bridge Road in Richmond, but I thought I'd just make a very quick cameo. I really love this lineup for tonight. The Rev, Reedy, and Jack. I really wish I could have joined. What a best possible combination there would be. And thank you for your thoughts on the pre-recording. It's a very interesting week. Game week 13 probably could have been the week I could have wildcarded, but I went a week early. So that's why we're rolling the free transfer.
We love it, mate. The lineup on here is better than what the lineup in that toilet's probably going to be. Absolutely amazing.
Mate, if you look closely in the toilet, you can see everyone's opinion of me right now in FPL.
Let's not go there. We don't want to go looking on there live on air. But Chaz, great for joining us. Rolling over this week, you had a great week on the wildcard considering you bounced back well. We're going to get your Captain's Corner coming up soon. But we hope you have a great night, mate. Stay safe and don't make any drunken transfers either, mate. Stick to your guns.
All good. Thank you, Jack. Feel free to kick me out of the group now. Cheers.
No worries, mate. My pleasure. And that was Chaz Roberts live from the Mountain View Hotel in Richmond, which is
live from the bush. Jesus Christ!
It's a cracking pub. I've had a few in there myself. I'm sure he's going to have a good time in there, rocking the mullet and showing off this evening. So he probably needs to get out of the bathroom now. I think he's been there about 15, 20 minutes hiding away. But what a legend. But we are going to look elsewhere into the preview across the podcast. So let's have a look. Reedy, are you ready? Or Rev, are you ready with your teams to go through? Or do you
go with the Rev?
Yeah.
All right, the Rev, I'm going to bring up your team now, mate. And here we go. Yes, that will do. Go for it, mate. Talk us through what you're doing this week.
So, you can call me the brand new hitman of the podcast because I am taking yet another...
Ricky Hatton.
Minus it, yeah, no. He's got nothing on me, mate. Yeah, I'm taking another -8. My thoughts is that like there's certain players that I don't have that will really damage me if I don't have them, and it will cost me more. I'm just going to
throw this out to anyone, Rev, who's in the comments now. Have you ever taken 2 -8s back to back? That's what I want to know from anyone watching now.
2 -8s.
2 -8s back to back in FPL.
Interesting.
And how did it go if you did?
Yeah, I think the first one is Robbo to Cancelo. I think Cancelo for me is just so needed in my team. I've not had him for a long time, and he's really punished me. So I'm definitely going to get him in. Obviously, last week we didn't have Foden or Saka play, and they're back this week. Reedy probably doesn't agree with these transfers, and for some reason, getting 2 of the best scoring FPL assets from 2 of the best teams doesn't seem to be quite up his street. He's saying that they could be rotated with Europa League. My argument against that, particularly with Saka, is that if Saka is even slightly fit, he plays because he's so essential to what Arsenal are doing right now. Arsenal are top of the league and they want to stay there, and they want to be fielding their best 11 absolutely every single game. And for me, Saka is the first name on that team sheet. for me, and so that's why Saka comes in, even though he's got the little Dorito of death there, saying that he's got a knock. I think he's going to play. I think he was brought off as a precaution. Him and Foden could both haul as well. They could both get a goal and an assist each, especially over the next 4 weeks in the build-up to game week 16 when we get unlimited transfers. And I think not having these players is going to do me some serious damage. So I've just bit the bullet, and my team looks like, right now, it looks like a wild card team that people could have very reasonably wild carded into. I think that this team going forward for the next 4, it looks really, really strong, and I'm really happy with it. Obviously, the -8 isn't ideal, but I think it pays.
Well, hopefully it pays, mate. But I think the team now is obviously strong, right? And it looks good. But yeah, you've had to take these big hits to get there, haven't you? And there's a lot of sins going on there, isn't there? -16 over 2 weeks.
Yeah, man, it's not ideal, but I think you've got to look at it in context as well. Like, so last week was a blank game week where we had loads of injuries as well, and this week we're seeing the return of City and Arsenal, which are 2 of the best teams in FPL. They weren't playing last week, so we couldn't have them in our teams, and then to put them back in this week. So yeah, just obviously when you say it, like, a -16 over 2 weeks isn't great, but in context, it kind of makes sense when we're covering for blank game week and then getting assets back in. We're probably going to need going forward.
Yeah, wow. So after I confessed all my sins about taking them, a big -24, you're getting up to them ranks, aren't you?
It wasn't a -24 in game week 2. It was a -16 over 2 weeks in a blank game week. So shut your leg.
Fair enough, mate. Well, listen, obviously we do wish you well. You've organised your team out there. I'm sure you're going to make another goalkeeper transfer at some point as well. But the team is looking solid, and we'll see how you get on in there. Elsewhere, the old, he's changed a lot again. Like, he changed his tactics a few times last season. He was the hit man. He was taking some big hits week in, week out. But Chris Reed, he's gone a bit quiet over these last couple of weeks. Have the hits returned for you, mate?
No, not for me this week, mate. I'm gonna roll. I have taken
He has changed.
Three hits this year so far. I mean, obviously, and maybe I needed to take more because the rank suggests take some more, and maybe I'll benefit from that. But in terms of my team this week,
the hitman and the Shatman.
Live from the box.
Mike with the comments there. They're unbelievable. If you want to hear what he did right, you have to jump onto the YouTube and watch it.
Yeah. But that is excellent punditry right
exactly,
there from Mike.
Exactly.
Love it.
I mean, I'm rolling this week, and I think that what else would I do in terms of taking Bowen out? He's got a great fixture against Bournemouth. So taking Bowen out for, say, Foden or Saka, especially if Saka's potentially a doubt, I just don't see the point in it. And I think having Salah for these next 2 fixtures is great. I'd like to have him there, even though obviously he didn't get anything against West Ham. And I think, I've got a couple of Arsenal boys in there, and I've obviously got Haaland as well. So, the team could be better. I could have, obviously, an extra City player in there. But the reason I'm rolling is for next week. I'll bring in Foden, I'll bring in Saka, and I'll actually take a hit next week. I am actually going to take a hit next week. I'm going to have to
turn up the back.
Yeah. So, but for me, in terms of like,
don't bring it back again.
Steady on. Yeah, I understand. Obviously, like, people are looking this week and going, "Oh, I'll take Bowen out. I'll take Zaha out, even for Foden or for Saka." But I don't personally want to do that, taking out Bowen in my case.
Especially not while you've got Mac Allister there stinking up your bench.
Yeah. I mean,
just sitting pretty. You've got. If I'm you, I'm taking hits. I'm taking him out.
No, it doesn't need to be done yet. I mean, for free, like, I'd be a lot more tempted, don't get me wrong, if it was a free or whatever, but to take out Bowen for then a Foden or a Saka, and then to take out McAllister this week for a hit, especially if he's not playing, he's on my bench, I don't actually need to do that. So I think it's the good play this week. Roll the transfer, and I think Salah and Bowen for me beat Foden and Saka this week. I'll put it out there.
Oh, fair enough, mate. You're entitled to your shocking opinion.
Big call.
It's don't follow 700,000 managers who are probably going to do it this week, but that's okay. Anyway, Castagna's been killing it for you. Why is he not starting? Leicester are on a roll, aren't they?
Yeah, they are on a roll, but then I don't know the fixture. They've got Wolves away. I do see Wolves scoring.
I'd definitely be starting Castagna over Andreas, mate, for sure.
Nah, but this is the thing. I want Andreas as you've got him on your bench, Mikey, and Leeds are absolutely awful at the minute. So I'd rather have Andreas and Mitrovic, who yesterday should have potentially got a haul if it wasn't for a certain Tyrone Mings. Unfortunately, he makes the mistakes at the wrong time that don't benefit you. He cleared one off the line. But yeah, for me, I'd rather go Andreas. I think he'll get potentially get something from that Leeds game with how bad Leeds been. And Castagna, who else would I bring him in for? You could say potentially don't go with the double Newcastle defence as they've got Spurs away, but it's Kieran Trippier. He's the best fullback in the game.
Yeah, you've got to start him, haven't you? Yeah,
I've got to start him. So yeah, I mean,
it's only Andreas you would change.
Yeah, potentially that, but I think 4-3-3. I'd rather have Andreas in there. I think at the minute. Yeah.
Right, fair enough, read it. We'll move on and we'll go to the top of the league team. It's of course my team. I love the boys just shaking their heads at me. Expecting Zeds. My team this week, one change for me. I'm using my free transfer. I'm bringing in Big Phil Foden. He is coming to the team in replacement of Mason Mount, who didn't do the business for me last week. So he's gone and Foden in. That gives me a City triple up. So Guaita in goal, Trips, Robbo is staying in my team. I'm not getting rid of him. I'll leave him in there. Cresswell at the back. I think he could be one who could be a bit more of a differential for me this week against Bournemouth. So hoping for some clean sheets from West Ham and Cresswell to get involved in it. Cancelo in there. Bowen, keeping with him. I think this could be a good week for him to bounce back from his penalty miss. Still think it's a good fixture for him. More than happy to leave him in. Zaha, Foden, and then Tony, Kane, and Haaland up top. Yeah, so I think I'm lined up pretty nicely. Looks good on paper, but as we know, FPL can absolutely ruin your life and your weekend. So we'll see how we go from there. We will jump into the captain's corner very shortly, but I did want to jump to a question we had in the comments earlier because I think Gary did post his wild card. So, boys, I want you to let's get into a bit of a discussion, see what you think of this wild card. As we know, Chaz did his in game week 12. Normal people and managers wild card in game week 13. And this is what Gary has come up with. So, Gary's been in the comments, and thanks for joining us again, Gaz. So, he's got in goal? He hasn't put his keeper up there, but at the back, he's got Dalot, Trippier, Cancelo, then Martinelli, Salah, Højbjerg, Foden, and up top, Firmino, Mitrovic, and Haaland. So he's put his kind of starting 10 on there, minus the goalkeeper and the subs. But I presume his bench is pretty weak with the likes of Neco, Andreas, maybe. What do we think of that, lads?
I think it's really good on face value. I think the only concern that I would personally have would be Højbjerg. I'm not sure I rate that as a pick. Obviously, he is a defensive midfielder. He does have some decent points so far, though. But I just think that there's better options, especially from midfielders who are just a bit more likely to get attacking returns. But other than that, mate, it looks really solid.
Yeah, Reedy, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, I do like it. I do like it a lot. I think it's pretty solid all round. Højbjerg, as Rev's saying there, and Firmino has gone under the radar, so to speak, this year. We've got a nice fixture against Forest, and yeah, I can't really pick too much wrong with it. The Højbjerg one, who could you pick instead? Off the top of my head, you could. I know that obviously you guys, Rev's going for Saka. He's got Martinelli already. I'd say maybe another Arsenal player.
I was just about to say, if I was going to be really critical, I think City and Arsenal are both the best teams in the league right now. And if I was on a wild card, I'd be taking every opportunity to triple up on both of them. I've taken hits to do that this week.
Listen, if
you
we're looking
can
at
do it for free.
if you're looking at money wise, Højbjerg for me, I think a straight replacement is Eze. I think he'd be a good one to come in. He's the same price as Højbjerg, and he's obviously got the attacking returns. So I think he's the one I'd put straight in there. And then I was going to ask you, Reedy, actually, while you're still on the screen, Firmino, would you prefer to have Nunes, or would you stick with Firmino? Who would you have at the two?
I think Firmino's a good pick for this week. I think, especially if Nunes is potentially a doubt, we don't know for certain yet on a bit of an injury that he might have picked up in that game. So Firmino, I think minutes wise is more secure.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Well, thanks for your contribution there, lads. And Mike has just jumped in as well. Gary, if you want to take this one, he'd go White over Saliba. So FPL Mike Halpin is our resident Arsenal man. He knows all the news, latest news. So if it does go wrong, you can blame him. However, he does know his stuff, and he's gone White over Saliba. So maybe consider that one instead. I presume he's obviously cheaper as well, isn't he? He must be about 0.4, 0.3 cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper, and he's nailed. And I think White is more likely to get attack and returns, even though he hasn't yet.
I was going to say, I think it's a solid 6 points almost. I don't know if he'll get you more than that. So,
he's more likely to give you the assists from the crosses, which has been given him for sure.
Yeah, fair enough, lads. Well, thanks for that one, and good luck to anyone who's on a wild card. We haven't got long in the show, so if you are on a wild card, feel free to post it in, and we'll get discussion on. But we are going to go to the man with the captain picks. He isn't in the toilet on this one, but he is live at home when he did the pre-record. So let's jump in to Chaz with CC.
Welcome to another edition of Captain's Corner, heading into Game Week 13, and it's yet another quick turnaround. Jeez, I got my words mixed up there. But we'll start with our captains, and more importantly, the headline maker makes a return in Erling Haaland. But before we get to the captains, let's go for a recap of how Game Week 12 went. Only 13 goals were scored across the 9 Game Week 12 matches, and the only player that did return, who did feature in the Game Week 12 article, was Mitrovic. So it was a very underwhelming game week. We start with the top 2 in Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne. And as I've said, he's probably the main captain choice, the Norwegian. Norwegian's coming off his first blank of the season, which was a 1-0 defeat at Anfield by Liverpool. Firstly, let's go to Haaland's home record so far. A whopping 10 goals alongside 3 assists in his first 5 home games. And this also includes not 1, not 2, but 3 hat-tricks. His Belgian teammate, as I've always said, is worthy to be part of the conversation. He's had 9 assists already so far this season, which is 5 more than any other player. And in addition, he's had a direct goal involvement of 43% for Manchester City's last 14 goals scored. And that has come with his 6 assists. De Bruyne's record against the Seagulls in Brighton, 1 goal and 4 assists in his last 8 league meetings. Meanwhile, Brighton have failed to score in their last 3 games under new management. In addition, De Bruyne is top for expected assists so far with an XA of 5.56, which highlights his outstanding yet consistent creativity. We move to who we were discussing before with Elliot, Mohamed Salah, probably the closest challenger to Erling Haaland in the captain conversation. If Salah does score away on Saturday, it will mark him scoring against 25 of the possible 26 Premier League sides he has faced since signing for Liverpool in June 2017. The only side from the top of my head that he didn't score against was Swansea City. He still managed 2 assists in 3 appearances against him. With no Haaland last game week, Salah did become the most captain amongst managers within the elite brackets, and it's no surprise considering he had a home fixture against West Ham, was captained by 16% of managers ranked within the top 10K and the top 1K. Despite Salah's blank on Wednesday, his stats are encouraging, albeit from a midweek home game, perhaps showing hauls from the Egyptian aren't too far away. He still registered 6 shots, which was the equal highest of any player on the ground, alongside his teammate, Darwin Núñez. Harry Kane, now for Tottenham. 3rd or 4th on the rank, whatever you would like to call it. he does have Newcastle at home. But if we had this conversation this time last year, it would have been a lot easier. But nowadays, Newcastle are a far more difficult opposition to break down. And statistically, it's evident. They've only conceded just 9 goals in their first 11 league games, which makes them the best defence in the league. And because of Newcastle's steady defence, their fantasy managers are looking towards the direction of selling Kane up to the sky. Kane is the 4th most transferred out heading into the game week, surprisingly, despite being the 2nd highest scoring player in the game. And generally, FPL managers tend to be more reactive and proactive, and his exodus is probably likely due to his 2nd blank of the season, which occurred at Old Trafford on Wednesday night, and it was also his 1st blank since the opening game week. But despite his blank, he still had the most shots of any Tottenham player with 3, and recorded the 2nd highest expected goals with 0.38 of any player on the ground. He does have a respectable record against Eddie Howe's side, with 5 goals and 3 assists, ching, 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 in his last 6 league appearances against the Tsunami. Differential, if you're feeling bold, if you're feeling adventurous, look no further than Arsenal's. Not Martinelli this time. Let's go on the other wing, and Bukayo Saka. He is also, by the way, now Arsenal's top fantasy scorer, I should say. In the last 7 game weeks, he has scored 4 goals alongside 4 assists. And there's accumulated 35 points within his last 6 game weeks. Only Foden, Haaland, and one of our podcast favourites, and Newcastle's very own Miggy Almiron, have all scored more in that time. The Saints managed to hold out for their first clean sheet on Wednesday against the Cherries, but the odds don't expect them to keep a clean sheet against the Gunners this time round. The clean sheets give them a 14% chance of doing so, which is the 3rd lowest. Only Brighton and Nottingham Forest have it worst, in which respectively, it's the opponents Salah and Haaland are both facing. Saka has registered returns against the Saints on the last 2 occasions in which Arsenal have scored in. That is it. That is the 3rd and final captaincy corner video within the last week. I need a good week's break. Have a good game week, everyone. And may your arrows be green, green, green.
He never fails. He never fails to impress. You have got stats on stats, backed up evidence for your captain picks this week. If you don't get your captain pick right, knowing Chaz, he'll get his wrong because he always goes against himself. But listen to that advice and get your stats in and get your captain's pick right, because he's got so much content to give you.
And the way he presents it as well, he's just hilarious.
Unbelievable.
I love that man. He's so good, you know.
He is unbelievable.
Ching, ching, ching.
Ching, ching, ching. Ching, ching, ching.
He's an absolute character. So he's picked some good picks in there. Differential this week. He's picked Saka in there. I think it's obviously a lot of managers bringing him in this week. He's looking good. It looks like he's going to be firing. Hopefully he makes it, and hopefully he can make an impact for your teams out there. Obviously, we know a couple of our boys have got him already. But yeah, that is all we've got time for today. Thank you everyone for jumping in and joining us on the stream. We've had a great time. Obviously, it's Old Boys FC on here today. No, the youth squad are away. Really looking away like as if he's a young man these days, but he's not. If you've got any other comments, please jump in the comments, even when we've obviously finished being live, and we'll get back to you with any replies. All the link trees in the details in the caption below. But a big thank you to our sponsor, Bonus Bank, for supporting us and our community this season. Australia's and New Zealand's fastest growing side hustle. Make sure you check out the details in the caption below on how to take advantage of Bookies promotions. It's free to set up, and you can also receive 25% off your first premium month if you choose to do so with our discount code FPL Addicts. So big thanks to Dave and Nico there for backing us again this season. But yeah, thanks again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you've loved today's podcast and live stream, please make sure you hit the like button and hit the subscribe and to turn your new notifications on so you're not going to miss an upload. And please do give us a follow, a review, a quick rating on podcast. It really does help to spread the word of the FPL Addicts. We love what we do, and we'd love to get in people's faces and ears a lot more to spread the word, especially with a lot of that Reedy and the Rev do. I reckon we could create a drinking game out of this. But there we go.
Yeah, well, Chaz is already playing it.
Chaz is already out. He's already doing it already. Well, that brings us to the end of the preview show for Game Week 13. Keep an eye out on our socials for any more content, as well as the Reverend's Hot Tip. Good luck, everyone. It is a big weekend. So thank you for your time and thanks for jumping in. And may all your FPL dreams come true. And good luck. And we'll see you next time.